Hello, welcome back to Ahead of the Game. It's Tux Sports Takes, Sports Pez Jez with you for a
What's up?
Friday. Oh, I
It's
was too
Friday
busy
night.
looking at the camera. I didn't even see
Yeah.
you.
Friday night, baby. Anzac Day.
The
It's time to
strobe.
party.
Yeah.
It's time to
Got a bit of
party.
two up going.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's go. What's going
Oh,
on?
man. Big weekend of sport already started. We've got stuff to
Mm.
talk about. Look ahead to the weekend. Going to give some cold, hot takes, hot, cold takes.
Hold
Bang,
cot.
bang,
Cot. Bang, bang takes.
bang, bang takes at the end of the show. So stick around for that
Yeah.
because I'm going to give some hot takes for the weekend's sport. But Jez, first and foremost, the Thursday sport. I mean, and you can't. Oh, I'm already going to weekend preview. Let's talk
Where are you
about
going?
yesterday's
Let's
game
watch.
first.
We'll start
The
there.
Bulldogs and the Broncos.
Mm.
The game was over after 18 minutes, you could say.
Yeah. I think I sent you a message saying after 13 minutes it's over. It was like their third try, and it was like Reynolds is kicking goals from the sideline, and it's 18-0. Like,
So they
I don't
scored
know.
a try in the
Quicksand, man.
second minute, the 9th minute, the 13th minute, the 18th minute, 28th minute, and the 32nd. So 6 tries in the first half. And it was just like, the Bulldogs dropped the ball on the first tackle or something when off the kickoff, I think, and then Brisbane got it,
Yeah.
and on their second
Scored.
or third tackle, they scored a try.
Yeah.
Just kind of really set the tone for the match. But
Yeah.
do you think, can you take anything out of this game from the Bulldogs standpoint? Or is it just like, hey, it was one of those ones that just happened and let's forget about it and move on?
Mm. Like for me, I think these games. I don't know. I get hooked on this whole thing. I don't know. Some old sports film where it could be like Varsity Blues. It's a really old film that had the guy from Dawson's Creek in it, and what's the guy Walker from uh, Fast and the Furious? What's that guy's name? The guy that died in the car crash.
Paul
Paul
Walker,
Walker. Yeah, it's got Paul
not
Walker
Chris
and the guy
Walker
from
from
Dawson's Creek in it.
Brisbane.
Huh? No, but
Walker's on, Walker's on, Walker's
yeah.
on.
But anyway, like it's a thing called like quicksand. It just felt like everything they did, the more they struggled, the further down they ended up in the quicksand. Like, so I think like sometimes you just can't get out of that. And it felt like everything Brisbane did was touched by the hands of God. Like they couldn't make a mistake, and all Canterbury could do was make mistakes. Like,
Is
the
the
rub of
god
the
Adam
ball or whatever you
Reynolds?
call it. Huh?
Is the god Adam Reynolds?
Yeah, pretty much. Like he was just phenomenal. Everything he did was like pinpoint perfect. Like and everything Canterbury did was atrocious. They were lucky to not be down 11-13 on the field after that. After Matt Burton got back on from his HIA, he comes and did a shoulder charge while I think Tupanua was off and should have been sent off. Like they were awful. Everything they did was awful. I think you just after the 18 minutes they should have just packed up or never come out at halftime because they didn't come out at the kickoff. So just
Yeah.
forget about coming out of the sheds at halftime because the game's over. Just forget about it. But for Brisbane, I think that's where it's a little bit more interesting because Brisbane's attack's been awful, and it was, like we said, it was perfect. And it's what the Brisbane attack I think we expected, and it's the Brisbane attack we saw 2 games earlier. They had I think the second highest points for average coming into this game at like 28 and a half or something like that. But that was based on 2 massive scores close to 50 because the other 3 games they'd played or 4 games they played, they hadn't like even scored over 25 or 24. So it was like their average was just completely boosted by 2 big performances and now boosted by another huge performance. So it's consistency for Brisbane. And I don't know, there's nothing to say that they're going to be consistent. They've played 3 good games and 3 shit games.
Because it looked like they did it in a different way this week as well. It was a lot more of the kind of crash plays from the forwards on the edge that were you've seen Willison and even Payne Haas went close to scoring a couple of times.
Mm.
It felt like it wasn't as much of the backs that were creating the space and creating the breaks this time around, even though they were the beneficiaries, considering
Mm.
Mariner scored twice with both kicks. Jesse Arthurs and Shibasaki also both scored. Like there was 3 tries, I think, from kicks, and other ones
Mm.
were that the back scored were just after the forwards have already done all the work and the space is there.
Yeah.
Whereas I think
Yeah.
previously it's been Shibasaki that's been making the breaks, or Reece Walsh that's
Mm.
been making the breaks, and then the backs have then capitalised on that. So it felt like a bit of
Mm.
um, a different way they went about it. But I don't know whether that, like, I don't know what to take out of that, because also Canterbury's defense was just atrocious. In the
Yeah.
broken play, they were just letting Brisbane walk through them, and whether it was the
Mm.
conditions that just they couldn't. They was, as you said, stuck in quicksand. That was so heavy
Mm.
track that they just couldn't move, and all of those things combined meant they were atrocious in defence.
Yeah. But it's just like what it was this. It's the same for Brisbane. Brisbane are better at playing on the beach. I don't know. Westies aren't used to it. Who knows? But it was just,
But
it's the same conditions. Brisbane just got on top, and they just put the hammer down. And I think that's exactly what they had to do to Canterbury. I think like it was exactly the tactic coming up against a team that's 6-0. You've got to take your chances, and even when they were up by like 30, was stuff like Reynolds was still trying to go for kicks like a dropout and trying to kick the ball out. He kicked it out on the full, but it's the idea in his head. It was like, we're not going to let up. We're just going to keep pushing. They had to come out right from the start, and it paid off because they pulled the Bulldogs' pants down.
I
Simple
think
as
there's
that.
a couple of things to look at here as well. The Bulldogs had 3 sin bins.
Mm.
Um, the Broncos scored 2 tries during the first sin binning, and then no more
Mm.
tries in the second 2 sin bins. They scored only 1 try in the second half, and it was on the siren. The Bulldogs didn't give up, and I noticed something after that first try from Marcelo Montoya, and even after the second try, they thought they had a chance to win. The Bulldogs, you could
Mm.
see the way they were trying to get the ball back to take the conversion, the way they were getting on around each other to get back and get the next one. They thought they were in with a chance. And I think that's important for a team that is now going to be a premiership contender and have moved from the also rans to, it's like, it reminds me of Penrith. Penrith are never out of the game, and it's
Mm.
the
Mm.
Crichton kind of thing there, and a couple other boys that have played in Penrith. But it just, I seen that and I thought, oh man, that's so important for them to have that frame of mind when they're down, 30 points, and still think they might be able to get a win because they've just scored a couple of tries in quick succession, and they feel they can get some momentum. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good pickup. Like I turned it off, to be honest. I didn't watch the last quarter of the game basically, but yeah, that's a very interesting point I think you make, because it is that attitude, and that's what the Bulldogs have never been. And I think, yeah, I think extremely important, because it is those games, and it's those games you lift. They won the second half. They've got something to build on next week, and that's why I don't think it's going to be a problem for them next week. You'll see them probably blank whoever they play, because
Mm.
you're just like, and they got out of that hole, you know. So I think that is important. It's a good when you're talking about premiership chances for sure.
Demons picked up another win in the AFL over Richmond. We were a little bit unsure about what this game would have in store for us, given
Mm.
the Tigers' victory over the Suns last weekend. But again, like the stars just kind of turned out for Melbourne. Max Gawn was tremendous. Some interesting. It's always funny when you listen to the commentary and they say things that like are good, and then it happens the second after. And I remember there was one thing where they said Richmond need to stop just booting it down the line, because Max Gawn is just going to pick it up every single time because he's the best player in the league at positioning himself to get those kicks. And the very next kick, they kicked it down the line. Max Gawn went in, took a mark over the head of everybody else. And it was just like so justified, such a great comment. And
Awesome.
yeah, like I wonder if, we spoke about the Parramatta Eels in the NRL getting their win last week and still having a chance, like a good chance to make the 8. Is Melbourne in the same category here, that they started off atrociously down the bottom? No one's given them a chance. They're out of it. Couple of wins now, and their stars are starting to turn it around. Are they a chance to shoot up the ladder, you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. Melbourne have the class. I think we talk about it last week where we were just saying like they should, with the players that they have, with Gawn, Petrarca, Oliver, they shouldn't be losing the games that they were losing. And it is. It's still early days. Like with the best example, the Hawks last year, where they lost their first 5 and then they come back and were a force. So like AFL, it feels like they definitely, a lot of teams go on pretty big runs. So the teams that have been good now, you string together 2 or 3 wins or 2 or 3 losses in it, and the rest of your season is shaped completely differently. So I don't think anybody's ruled out, and especially Melbourne, because they should be there with that win. They've got 2 wins now. In theory, they're 1 win away from the 8. It's round 7 in AFL.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're definitely a chance to be there. They'll likely be floating around that 8 spot again, a little bit like they have been the last couple of years since they won their premiership, really. So yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, they're definitely in it. But Richmond, I think, are interesting, man. Like Richmond are better than what I thought they were going to be at the start of the year. I thought they were just going to be a walkover, because in the off season, they traded away a couple of their good players. They focused heavily on getting good draft picks, but they're seeing rewards already. It feels like they've got the right culture. There was question marks around, I don't know how to say his name. I hate when there's a name that I don't know how to say. Adam Easy.
Easy.
Their coach, Easy Adam.
I think they say Uze.
Uze. See, how do you know this shit? You're so cultural. I'm just a bogan from Queensland. But anyway, he's obviously building something, and there's a good culture, and they're working hard, because they shouldn't be even in games for as long as they are in. And they're snagged a couple of good wins. They were in this fight. They had the lead at the end of the second quarter. So yeah, I'm impressed by Richmond, and I don't think they're going to be down in the dumps for very long, like we've sort of seen with West Coast and North Melbourne. It feels like they're going to be down, floating around the bottom there for a little while, but it feels like they'll have a little bit quicker, I don't know, development. What do you call it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's good. I think it's good. It's good for the club. AFL's better when Richmond are amongst it, I think.
Yeah. I spoke with Josh Higgins last week, I think, when I had him on 2 weeks ago, about West Coast and their rebuild, and it's not looking good. And their defense so far this year has been so bad. They're a few years away from being a good club again, unfortunately for them.
Wonder if Harley Reid's going to go to a Melbourne club as soon as he gets the chance.
Oh man,
then they're fucked. Well, they're not. But I think
they're likely going to get the best draft pick this year or for next year, and depending on what they I don't know what players are up and coming, but yeah, I don't know. West Coast are generally pretty good at not losing players, but if you compare to Freo will draft Victorians and fantastic players and lose them all the time. West Coast have been able to hold on to them, but yeah.
Was it West Coast or Fremantle that were hunting Chad Warner?
Both,
I think. Yeah,
but I don't think Freo have enough to give. Oh, I don't know. West Coast have either, to be honest. But anyway,
I think he just signed this week. Anyway, signed his extension, or he knocked back a massive contract from one of them. I just saw quickly in the news. So it pretty much said, okay, he wants to stay at Sydney because he wouldn't knock back, I don't know, it was like a $6 million contract or something. Anyway.
The rest of the weekend, what do we got in store? GWS
where do we start?
Bulldogs,
Let's start.
I think is a GWS and Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, it's going to be that's a really interesting game. I wrote the prediction on bets.com.au, and I definitely, like I said, like this is the matchup of the round for me, especially the Saturday slate at least, because GWS have lost 2, but they've lost 2 games in awful weather. If you have an excuse, I think GWS has an excuse for their 2 losses. They lost to the Hawks in Tasmania when it was, blowing a gale, and then they lost to Adelaide last week in just a rubbish match in the pouring rain. Yes, if you're a top team, you should be able to get wins, but if you're a top team and you're looking for an excuse, it's I think it's pretty viable. It's pretty viable, those 2 games, because it was absolutely extreme weather. So, but then Western Bulldogs, Bontempelli come back and made a massive difference. I was on St Kilda for the early parts of the season, and they beat the Saints by 52, I think it was. They doubled the Saints score. So they put an absolute stop to that. They look better, but Darcy got injured, which is a big hit for them. They're just struggling with injuries, Western Bulldogs. It would be good to see how good they could be if they could just have their starting 18 on the field at the same time, their best 18. So, but that's going to be a really good game. It's really going to be really, really telling. I think the midfield battle's going to be brutal.
Yeah, I'm on the Carlton and Geelong game, and I think this is a good one from a betting perspective. We're not going to talk a lot of betting here, but I think with Carlton's 2 wins, they're being a bit inflated, not only in the betting markets but in people's eyes. Their 2 wins were against West Coast and North Melbourne, the 2 worst teams in the league, and they put a heap of points on them, but they weren't great. They weren't great in front of the sticks. Their accuracy was still pretty poor. Yeah. And the games they played against good teams earlier in the year, they were just really bad. Geelong have a pretty good record at the G. They're almost at a 70% win percentage at the MCGs in the last 6 years. Wow. So, that's really good for a team.
You don't think that. You just think that they're hard to beat at GMHBA. Whew, nailed it. I always write that wrong when I'm writing the
GMBA.
So always get it
GMH.
Always GMHBA. Always usually write it in the wrong order. That could be wrong. I'm just feeling confident that was right.
Yeah, let's go with it. I love it. I'm backing you.
But you just think that they're hard to beat there. So you don't expect they also have a 70% record at the MCG as well. So
no, well, it's not 70. It's 60-ish, 68% or something.
Yeah,
it's around
70.
That. Sounds better.
70 in anybody that's not a geek's eyes. You're around that number up.
Yeah.
You're around 64 and a half up to 70.
When we talk all the time about the stats, and what was the one we were spoken about where it was it's 4 of the last 5 or 6 of the last 7, depending on what sounds better. You get you move the goalpost, so to speak, so it sounds better. And it was similar here. It's 68%. It's essentially it's almost 70%. So it's almost a 70% win.
It's just under 100, really.
Yeah,
they're almost perfect.
I've seen a post on, I think it was Twitter or Instagram, where someone was got really angry about, I hate when people use over a number when the numbers are small. It's it's over 4 times I've been to that country. What do you mean over 4? Is it 5 or is it 95? Just say the number. If it's so small, say the number. You can say over once you get over 100, because then it's a lot of numbers. But you don't say over 4 when it's like he had a big rant about it, and I was like, I do
Fair
that.
enough.
Almost
Yeah.
70.
Yeah.
That's good. What about
Right,
in
NRL,
the other code? Yeah, what are you looking forward to?
the other code. Yeah, I don't know. There's not. I think the biggest match was last night's match. That was the one you're looking forward to the most when you look at the slate. But I think probably one of the most interesting matches is going to be like result wise. Oh, there's a couple like Panthers Seagulls, just because it's Tom Trbojevic is back. So does that help Manly get out of there? They went 0-3 this time when he was injured. So does that get them out of their rut, or are the Panthers back? Can you trust the Panthers now? Because they sorted their shit out against the Roosters. You're watching the Roosters now. We won't do any spoilers, but I guess everybody's going to watch this, or you haven't watched it.
I haven't watched it.
So we won't talk about that. But, I think it's going to be that result will be very, very interesting to see which team you rule Manly out if they lose. Do you start to still rule Penrith out if they lose? And they've only won one of their last 6.
Well, it's a
Still a
big.
pretty bad stat. Like, well, what do you say?
Yeah.
They've won over 0 in their last 6. They've lost under 6 games in their last 6 games, or
Yeah. I think that's the most kind of not clutch game, but one that has the most meaning for both teams. Because you look at the Cowboys and the Titans, okay, is that so important for both teams? Probably not. But Penrith and Manly, like, this could have bearing on their seasons, because you can expect quite a few players from both teams may be selected for Origin, which is just around the corner. And those periods, you don't want to be behind the 8 ball already in terms of wins going into Origin when you're losing your best players for, anywhere. I don't know what their buys look like, but you could be losing them for, 4 or 5 games. And then it's like, man, then you get out of that and you got the run home and your players are banged up, and depending on your schedule, you're lucky if you go 500 over 50% wins.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other game though is like interesting to watch is the Raiders and the Dolphins. I think that also has the most
Reckon
sort of
there'll be points?
meaning. What's that?
Reckon there'll be points in that one?
Yeah. And don't the Raiders Dolphins, I just have in my head Raiders Dolphins games, don't they have come close to drawing? I'm going to write the prediction on that today. So I just have in my head that they went to extra time once, and we've backed that again, and I don't know, I can probably go into it.
No, I'm going in now to find who's the home team.
Yeah, 30-31. The last 2 meetings, 26-25 to the Raiders and 31-30 to the Raiders.
Wow.
Remember some things.
Yeah,
this whole thing.
It's in there.
Huh? This whole thing knows when to back a draw.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah,
Haven't had any draws that we've backed so far this season. There's been one
Golden
game.
Point. Mate, with the due.
It was
and overs.
Parramatta and
I don't know
St.
what the
George
over-under is, but
and Brisbane, New Zealand. 2 games.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be. But I think that's a interesting game when it comes to. It'd be good to see how the Dolphins play now after having that massive performance against Melbourne, and then just quietly once again the Raiders early in the season are sitting in 4th. It's like how, but
they'll fall from
they've
grace.
been getting the wins. Yeah, and then they'll be fighting for a spot in the 8 come round 26.
Yeah.
But I think good to see. I think Dolphins. If the Dolphins should get up there, I'm backing them to win in Golden Point. You heard it here first on ahead of the game.
That's your bang bang. Your bang bang horse pick this weekend.
What a segue, baby! Golden Point. Get on the draw. Dolphins, Raiders, Golden Point. If this hits, we got to do replays on Monday of this show. This is how we lead the show.
This is going to be on bets.com.au YouTube channel on Monday. We're going to do a recap of the weekend and our picks and how good we've gone.
Yeah.
So that'll be there. That'll be on
Say
there.
it now. Hammer first try. The over. Dolphins to win. 80-minute draw. Boom, boom, boom.
Put it in a multi with
that, I'm just going to put that
Chol,
into AI
4
and
plus
just write
goals.
my whole article now.
I love it. Love it. Yeah, I'm on Chol for Hawthorn to kick 4+ goals against the West Coast Eagles. Peter Wright, 6 goals last week for Essendon against them. Jesse Hogan kicked 9 for GWS against the Eagles earlier. In only one game of the 6 they've played so far has a player not scored 4 or more goals. So
you're saying it's Chol.
It's Chol. He's going to get him.
You want to have a bet? Like, I know we're not supposed to make this show about betting, but what about a bet between? Is it this way? No, that way. That way. That way. You're going to say.
What?
Elbows in. Elbows in. Stop. The tangent. Anyway, I'm going to say Georgiades kicks more goals than Chol for Port Adelaide against North Melbourne.
Oh, okay.
You want to take some of that action?
Yeah.
You want to take some of that action?
Yeah. $20.
Huh? How much you doing? $20. $20?
$20.
Shugi Lap.
Shugi Lap,
Our Shugi Lap bet of the day. Bet of the week. Bet of the round.
Bang, bang,
let's
bang.
Do this from now on. Bang, bang. Every Friday, you versus me, head to head. Who scores more? We find the categories. Throw a 20 on it every week. From today. Georgiades, more goals
versus
than
Chol.
Quell.
All right.
Quell. Bye.
Cano.
Kanoski.
All right. Check out bets.com.au for all the game previews, and don't forget to find and follow us at these spots.
And don't forget, if you want to stay ahead of the game, hang with us. Sort of swap it around today.
And stay ahead of the game.
No, if you want to stay ahead of the game, just hang with us. Bye.